In a world where carbs are your enemy, you need one man to help you fight your battles. That man is Jimmy.
Combating nutrition disinformation and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live, and we're here with another episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. If you want to engage live in the content that we do here on this show, you got to go follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live in the content, just like all my Jimmy Rantsers are doing right now. Thank you guys for being here. We also simulcast live over here on Facebook Live, so thank you guys for being here as well. I'm very honored to have you in my audience. So if you missed the live over on Instagram, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours. After 24 hours, it does disappear. You'll need to go over to YouTube to see all the past episodes. Hello, Brittany. All the past episodes of this show, type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you will find the show. Finally, the best of the best moments of this here show are in podcast form. It's the Jimmy Rants podcast over on Apple Podcasts as well as Stitcher. All of these links, you guys, are at JimmyRants.com. Today's Jimmy Rants is another one of those articles, you guys. And somebody chided me the other day, you should do a Jimmy Raves, because all these rants, it just seems like all it is negative. But think about it. There's so much negativity out there. Don't you wish somebody would take some of that negative stuff and slap them around a little bit and tell them, no, this is not right. And that's what I do here on this show. So I make no apologies for this show unapologetically being called Jimmy Rants, because some of this stuff needs to be ranted about. And that's what we're going to do here today with another cockamamie story out of Australia, which we'll get to here in a minute. But have you noticed, now that keto's all the rage in the mainstream culture, have you noticed that there are all kinds of people coming out the woodwork to talk about keto? And they always try to have a new angle. Well, the hidden side effect you didn't know you were going to get when you go keto. Find out more here. And then, of course, they make reference to some in the first line of this. In recent weeks, we have heard that keto is associated with a number of side effects, ranging from bad breath to then something called keto crotch, which we fully addressed. The keto crotch was a crock, a marketing gimmick, but it shows up in articles, guys. And so everybody's trying to find their angle. And this new one here today, the lesser known side effects of keto you need to know about. And of course, when people see headlines like that, how do you not click on that? Whether you're pro-keto, anti-keto, whatever you are, you're going to click on that. And that's the whole purpose. But I do think because people click on these things and they read what's in there, they might buy into everything that the journalist puts into the article, which is why I think this show is perfect for answering a lot of those questions. So you ready for this one? Here we go. The good thing about all these side effects is that they become very apparent to us pretty early on. giving us a chance to make the necessary changes to our diet should we not be so fond of these unwanted side effects. Far less frequently mentioned is the dramatic changes to dietary intake can have a profound health consequence over time. That's right, your health will get profoundly better. And it can be months or even years until we realize it. No, we get very healthy very quickly. So thank you. Because what we're talking about here today is the only side effect of keto is health and happiness for a lifetime. They will try their darndest to come up with every excuse for why you should not do a low-carb, moderate protein, high-fat, ketogenic diet with mostly real whole foods. They will try to discourage you at every moment. But you gotta remember, the only side effect of keto is robust health and eternal happiness for the rest of your life. So what I'm about to read is a bunch of, you know what it is. Here are a few things to be aware of if keto is your thing. Oh, please tell me. Digestive issues. When dietary intake suddenly shifts from plant-based eating, where fruits, vegetables, legumes, and grains are consumed regularly, to literally no plant matter at all. Other than those of you that do carnivore, do you not eat any plant matter at all? And keep in mind, nuts and seeds are a plant. Vegetables obviously are a plant. If you have berries as fruit, that's a plant. The only thing you're cutting out of this list is legumes and grains. And there is no dietary requirement for you to have either one of those. So the notion that you're going to have digestive issues because you're not eating a plant-based diet, to me, I've seen more people have digestive issues eating plant matter than they ever do eating animal matter. Have you noticed that? The people that tend to have gut health problems, the people that tend to deal with leaky gut and some other kind of stomach issues, it's because it's being exacerbated by the very foods that they're told are supposed to be the healthiest in their diet, and that's the plants. People don't get stomach problems from eating meat. Meat is life. Meat is the basis of your diet, or should be. And it's all these other things that we add to it because we've been told those things are healthy that cause the problems. So digestive issues, this is silly. It's not surprising that the body misses its daily fiber and constipation results. So if you get constipation when you're keto, you can eat more green leafy vegetables. You certainly don't need legumes, grains, fruits, all that stuff. You can also eat nuts and seeds. That helps with constipation. Water, though, is a big one that's never talked about in the constipation story. If you get constipated, drink some water. And if you need a little bit of things to kind of shake, rattle, and roll that bowel, get you some magnesium citrate. That stuff is gold, you guys, for making you go when you can't go. So it's kind of silly. A lot of the excuses that they give about keto, why you should not do it, it's predicated on a whole lot of nutting. But then they say, well, it's that keto diet doing that to you. Therefore, you should be eating more fruits, vegetables, legumes, and grains. And I'm going, you don't have to put your body through all the blood sugar swings that all those are going to give you, all at the altar of, I don't want to have constipation. That's not a reason enough to not do keto. And then they talk about its daily fiber requirement. Do we really know how much fiber we need in our diet? I suppose it's who you ask. There's some people that say fiber is everything. You need tons and tons of fiber, unlimited fiber. And I'm thinking the body probably can only handle just so much fiber. And then if you give it more than that, you start to have really bad problems. But what about the people that eat carnivore? They're not getting any fiber at all, at least not from plant matter. How in the world are they surviving and thriving, I might add, without having any plant matter at all? It's an interesting question, this whole idea of fiber and whether it's actually required in the human diet to the levels that they're trying to make it out to be. I think this digestive issues one is just a lame excuse. For some keto fans, this issue might resolve over time. Why would it resolve? if fiber that's missing in your diet from fruits, vegetables, legumes, and grains are the answer to the issues you're having in your digestion, why would it just resolve over time? Could it be that it's not the fiber at all? Could it be having good gut health is the key? That good gut health is the bottom line here, not necessarily fiber intake? And yet you read the story, it makes it look like it's fiber intake. Especially if you pay close attention to consuming plenty of vegetables and fruits that are low in sugar, but in generally high dietary fiber intake. Unfortunately, it's relatively low on just about every keto plan. Doesn't have to be. If you eat a ketotarian style diet, which is what Dr. Will Cole, my co-host on Keto Talk, offers, it's a mostly plant-based diet that includes fish and eggs and fats. And he would say the overwhelmingness of that diet is non-starchy green leafy types of vegetables. And so I don't know what they're talking about there, relatively low on every keto plan. Not every. As a high intake of dietary fiber is associated with gut health, chronically low may in turn have digestive consequences long term. We don't know that. That has not been vetted out by the science. And until it's vetted out by the science, we can't make any bold proclamations that if you go keto, you're automatically going to have digestive issues. If you're just joining us, we're going over another one of those cockamamie stories that talks about side effects when you go keto. And we're going through them one by one. So far, we've gone over the digestive issues. The second one on the list, you guys, is vitamin deficiencies. So, Christine and I wrote a book called Real Food Keto. Came out in November last year, realfoodketo.com if you're interested in checking it out. And one of the tenets of the book was let's identify on a ketogenic diet how you get all the vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients into your diet using the keto template. And it's very easy to do. Very easy to do. To claim that you'll get vitamin deficiencies from eating keto is just nonsense. If you're doing it the wrong way, absolutely it's nonsense. On today's Keto Talk episode, it airs, I think it just posted, I saw on iTunes, so go check it out, you guys. It has, on Keto Talk today, ketotalk.com, we did an awful cast. So we talk about all of the little odd bits in the animal kingdom, liver, brain, heart, kidneys, so forth and so on, and how adding them into your diet as a keto dieter gives you such nutrient density. And it's that nutrient density that gives you the vitamins and the minerals and the things that people think they only get from plant matter. And I think we need to be having this discussion. They want to talk about vitamin deficiencies, but they don't want to talk about organ meats. And on our end of things, we want to talk about being nutrient dense with a ketogenic diet, and it is, but we don't want to talk about organ meats as a means of getting there. So listen to that. We called it the Awful Cast, by the way, over on Keto Talk, ketotalk.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. But here's what they wrote in the story. When entire food groups are eliminated, so too are key nutrients. What food group have you eliminated going keto? Is there any food group that you've totally eliminated going keto? They like to throw that term out there. To me, anything that falls within the carbohydrate category that is refined is not food. So you've not eliminated a food group if you give up bread. You have not eliminated a food group if you give up candy bars, if you've given up soda. Those aren't food groups. Those are food-like disease agents that did your body no good. What real food have you given up that you need in your diet? Anything? They want to pretend like in articles like this that you're giving up some essential food that if you don't eat this food, you can't get it anywhere else in the food supply. And as my wife Christine would say, that's a bunch of bullfunky. It is. Because just about any nutrient that your body needs, you can get from a keto-friendly source. Any food. any nutrient. It's absurd. The issue with this is that it's unlikely we're aware of our deficiencies, as we need some of these specific nutrients in relatively small amounts, and they gradually get depleted over time. Talk to a vegan. They know about nutrient deficiencies. A vegan will become vitamin B12 deficient in a heartbeat. They won't have to wait very long. Vitamin B deficiency, B12 specifically, is rampant among vegans. It's why so many of them start to get sick. It's why half of them have now gone off of YouTube because they're no longer vegan, because they couldn't keep up with that cockamamie diet because it was making them sick. So if you want to talk about vitamin deficiencies, I think we go right to the plant-based diet and those people that pretend like veganism hung the moon when it came to health. Keto is far more nutrient dense and far more full of vitamins and minerals that your body needs than any other way you could possibly eat. As keto fans will often eliminate dairy in favor of nut-based milks, who's given up dairy? I haven't given up dairy. Now, obviously, some of you will need to because of autoimmune disease, if you're doing the autoimmune protocol. And some people like almond milk or coconut milk or whatever, but you're not giving up dairy. I don't know what they're talking about. And this is the second article in as many days that they talk about giving up dairy as part of keto. Dairy-free is not a part of the keto message. Dairy is very much an easy way to stay keto. So I don't know what they're talking about there. And two, may be watching their daily intake of protein-rich foods. Yeah, you bet we are, because we don't want too much. Vitamin B12 can take a substantial daily hit, as will iron and zinc. No! Vitamin B12, iron, and zinc are classic deficiencies of a vegan dieter. Vitamin B12 is in red meat in spades. Iron is in red meat in spades. Zinc is in red meat in spades. What are they talking about here? A low intake of vitamin B12 over time causes fatigue, nerve pain, low mood, dizziness, and mouth ulcers. Yes, those are all signs of a vegan. You ever seen vegans and the way they act? Low mood, dizziness, nerve pain, or they cause you nerve pain, mouth ulcers, and is becoming increasingly common as more people follow strict diets that eliminate a number of food groups. Speaking of eliminate a number of food groups, they always do these articles about keto and low-carb diets, about eliminating whole food groups. Has anyone ever asked the question, why don't they treat people who go on a vegan diet for eliminating a whole food group? And they actually do eliminate an entire group of foods every time they eschew meat. Meat, the last time I checked, is a very nutrient food group. And yet vegans eliminate that entire food group, which is full of nutrition. And yet you never see stories highlighting that a vegan diet eliminates whole food groups, only keto stories. All right. Next one, chronically low calcium intake. What are they talking about? I guess they're going back to you don't have dairy in your diet, so you don't get enough calcium. You get plenty of calcium in the dairy you consume. And they're, again, neglecting the amount of calcium that is found in even things like spinach. There's so much nutrient density in the variety of foods that you have on keto, but we all have these little notions and images in our head. Oh, if you want calcium, you need milk, and the skimmer the better. That's all from our dieting history. Just get you some heavy cream. Get you some cheese. There's other sources of calcium. Calcium tends to take a real beating for those who follow a strict keto, they say regime. I hate that. This is a pet peeve of mine because I'm a word guy. A regime is it's not the keto regime. It's a keto regimen. So the author of this story doesn't know the difference between regime and regimen. Sorry, pet peeve. I was an English major in college. So With relatively high recommendations of 800 to 1,000 milligrams of calcium per day for optimal bone health as we age, it is challenging to reach anywhere near these targets when no dairy, soy, or fortified milks are being consumed. Well, we've addressed this already. Dairy is a part of your ketogenic diet. But here's the thing that they didn't put in here. Yes, you want 800 to 1,000 milligrams of calcium for bone health. What they did not put in here is there are 2 micronutrients that are abundant in real whole foods that you consume on a ketogenic diet that tells that calcium where to go in your body. In other words, just having the mere presence of calcium in your diet doesn't tell it that it needs to go build bones. Some of that calcium for people is shuttled into the arteries of their heart. And that's when they have, like, you get a CT scan of your chest and you get heart calcium score. It's that calcium being deposited there. So how do you prevent it from being deposited in your chest cavity and instead actually going to where it needs to be? 2 micronutrients you need to know about: vitamin D and vitamin K. So it's D3, which you can get from the sunshine, and it's K2, which is abundant in a lot of the grass-fed meats that you eat. So those are the things that you need to pay attention to when it comes to calcium. And yet they want to act like it's a chronically low calcium intake. It's not really even about the calcium intake. It's about how you shuttle that calcium to where it needs to be. And vitamin D3 and vitamin K2, which they do sell supplements that have both of those in there. That's the key, you guys, to getting it to build your bones. It may be too late to undo the damage to the bones that leads to osteopenia and osteoporosis. Again, I point you to the vegan diet. Those people, and this is not I'm not making fun of them, but it's just true. Look at almost any vegan and they look like they're wasting away because their bone health is not good, because they're not having dairy. On keto, you can eat dairy. Please do eat dairy because you're going to get a lot of the benefits that come from the dairy, unless you have an aversion to dairy products. This is not to say that there's anything wrong with choosing not to eat dairy or follow keto. Yeah. They always put the little caveat. Well, if you're doing pretty well, don't let us discourage you, but too late. We already discouraged you. But you may need to add in a calcium supplement. No. Did I say no enough? No. Do not take calcium supplementation. This is a big mistake people think that they have to do. Unless a doctor has prescribed you to take calcium for some medical reason, taking calcium on a ketogenic diet is a very, very bad idea, especially if you haven't gotten that D3K2 thing worked out. If you take calcium, you're just inviting it to be deposited into your coronary arteries. And I don't think that's what you want. You want it to build bones, and you're taking it for that purpose. Do not take a calcium supplement on keto. Get your calcium from real whole foods, cheese, heavy cream, that kind of thing. That's how you're going to get enough calcium. And then get the vitamin D3, K2 in there so that it knows where to send that calcium to build your bones, not to deposit in your coronary arteries. Weight regain is easy is the next one. And so they say this is an excuse for not going keto, because if you go off of keto, you will gain weight very fast. The moral of this story is, don't go off keto. Why is this difficult to understand? And yet, they're treating keto like a diet. A diet is one you go on, you lose weight for a little while, and then you go off of it so you can go back to eating the way you did before. How has that worked for anybody? Has anybody ever successfully gone on some dietary plan, keto or otherwise, come off of said dietary plan and not regained weight? Every single diet you stop doing has a 100% fail rate. Every single one of them. So for them to say weight regain is easy when you go off the plan, no kidding, Sherlock. When you are following keto, it will work like a charm. But when you stop, falter, or slip back into your old patterns, you will regain weight quickly. No freaking kidding. That's an excuse as to why not to do keto, because, you know, if you give it up, you're going to gain it all back. Let's do the analogy of drinking. You know, you really should not stop drinking, because if you stop drinking, you're going to start drinking again. So it's going to be futile for you to ever try to stop drinking, because once you try to start drinking again, you won't be able to stop. Does that make any sense at all? No. When you stop drinking, you stop drinking. So when you eat keto, you eat keto. I don't know why we have to stay stuck in this notion that this is a diet, right? And yes, the word diet means how you eat, but people have this connotation of going on a diet for weight loss. And I'm trying to get people to figure out keto is not just this willy-nilly diet you go on and you go off. Diet starts with die and ends in t, right? And so if you start with die and you end in t, at some point you're going to end that. But when you go keto lifestyle, you never go off of it, because a lifestyle is forever. You'll find it much more difficult to lose weight again each time you try. Well, the moral of that story is don't go off of keto. One of the reasons for this is that unlike more gradual fat loss regimens that combine calorie deficit with exercise, keto does not include training, will result in significant amounts of muscle loss. All right, once again, a lot of faux pas in there. Keto is not about fast weight loss. It's not about fast fat loss. Now, if it happens to come off quickly off of your body because you're 600 pounds, then that's just what happens. But don't bemoan the diet for getting your body to operate right. And if it results in fast weight loss, generally what happens when you start on a ketogenic diet, you lose weight really quickly in like that first week or two. Most of that's kind of where you're dumping a lot of the glycogen stores, and so there's a lot of water that's being dumped. You pee a lot, blah, 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 and you lose maybe double-digit pounds in that first couple of weeks. But then it slows down. Then it kind of normalizes into this 1 to 2 pounds a week. That's how it's supposed to work. Oh, but they bemoan it because you lose so much weight so fast, not understanding the mechanism of dumping glycogen, which is mostly stored in water. And so when that water releases from the body, it's a good thing. But they're making it out to be a bad thing. And then this whole idea of losing muscle. One of the best ways to preserve muscle mass nutritionally, if you're not going to be active in the gym and working out and trying to actively build muscle, one of the best ways to preserve muscle is to increase your ketone bodies. Because ketone bodies have been shown again and again in every study they've ever been looked at with exercise performance and muscle management. It's always been a muscle preserving element. So a ketogenic diet does not make you lose muscle. When you eat adequate calories and you're staying in a ketogenic state, those ketones are keeping your muscles very strong. I haven't been able to work out near as much as I normally do, but I have noticed that I have kept the muscle that I've built pretty easily. And the strength gains are still there. Even though I haven't been able to be as consistent at my workouts as I'd like to be, I still have the same amount of strength. And I'm eating like next to no carbs with this keto carnivore. And I'm not losing muscle. I really don't know what they're talking about here. As muscle is the metabolically active tissue, the less of it we have, the fewer calories we burn. They need to talk to vegans about that. Yet again, most of these things they're talking about in this article are side effects of keto. They are actually huge side effects of a vegan diet. I think they got the wrong diet, right? As such, losing weight quickly on keto is one thing, but long term there will be some reduction in metabolic rate, which will make weight control more difficult long term if you're not strict with your keto diet or diet in general. So if you're eating adequate calories on your keto diet, your metabolism should not slow. It should actually rev up a bit. And we've actually seen this in some studies that a ketogenic diet has been shown to have somewhat of a metabolic advantage by letting you have some wiggle room of a couple hundred to 200 to 300 calories worth of extra energy than, say, a low-fat dieter. So your body's better able to use energy and to keep your metabolism going fast when you keep insulin low. That's what a keto diet does. When you keep blood sugar properly managed, that's what a keto diet does. When you have lower inflammation levels, that's what a keto diet does as well. All of these things are doing good things in your body, but they're pretending, like in this article, that they're doing bad things. And then the last one, it may impact heart disease risk. No, it will not. This is the last little vestige of propaganda that still exists out there. You have people in your family, maybe even you, maybe you guys still fear that keto is somehow going to mess with your ticker, because that's what we've had hammered in us forever. And it's all been predicated around saturated fat intake and meat intake, and all these things are going to clog your arteries, give you heart disease, blah, 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 blah. I wrote a whole book about this subject called Cholesterol Clarity, What the HDL Is Wrong with My Numbers, cholesterolclarity.com if you're interested. But heart disease risk, every risk factor in your heart health gets better on keto. What are the relevant ones? If you go to see your doctor, they're going to focus in on total cholesterol. They're going to focus in on LDL cholesterol. They're not going to look at triglycerides, but triglycerides under 100 is extremely healthy, and it always happens when you go keto. HDL cholesterol is the good cholesterol. You want it above 50, and when you eat enough fats in your diet, you get higher HDL cholesterol, which is a good thing. And it's that ratio between that triglycerides and the HDL that's going to give you robust heart health. And by extension of that ratio being good, you also have the very healthy LDL particles. LDL on your traditional cholesterol panel is not the be-all, end-all. You want to get those really refined looks at what the LDL is, and that's where an LDL particle size test comes into play. So you can ask your doctor, or you can have it run on your own. It's called an NMR lipoprofile test, and it'll show you the total number of LDL particles and the total number of small dense LDL of that total. And it's the small dense that you want to have lower and lower and lower. Christine had hers run as part of that functional medicine doctor that we went to see yesterday. Her total particles were something like 1,700, but her small was like 700 of that. So we're going to work on ways to lower that small dense LDL. And that's the true risk of heart disease risk, not keto. As keto tends to achieve relatively quick weight loss, in many cases, improvements in blood fats, blood pressure, and blood glucose levels are reported, but not always. Dun, dun, dun. While some individuals may respond well metabolically to keto, there are also plenty who do not, especially if they do not get the right types of fats in their diet mix. Code: right type of fats. They don't want you eating saturated fat. They obviously... I see my friend Lorraine just came on here. She's a nutritional therapy practitioner. Lorraine, they obviously have not learned that saturated fat is one of those right types of fats. Because the next line says, from a population health perspective, a high-fat diet is associated with an increased risk of developing a number of chronic diseases, which they do not list here. For this reason, if you're choosing to follow keto, it's crucial you keep an eye on your medical markers to ensure you're getting the proposed benefits and not the potential side effects. And the problem with that statement is, it again is code. All of that was to say, you better watch out for your total cholesterol. You better watch out for your LDL cholesterol. And I'm here to tell you those two numbers are a bunch of bull funky. Triglyceride to HDL ratio, remember that one, you guys. NMR lipoprofile test to see what your small dense LDL particles are Also get an HSCRP, which is your level of inflammation, because if that number is low, you cannot have disease happening in your body. None of that was mentioned in this article. So the bottom line in this Jimmy Rants, they're going to talk about all these so-called side effects of a ketogenic approach. And I'm here to tell you that the only side effect of keto is health and happiness for a lifetime. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. Welcome in, welcome in. Going to go to Instagram first, then over here to you guys here on Facebook. So thanks for being here, you guys, for another episode of Jimmy Rants. Brittany says, I love all these poorly written articles that are clearly clickbait. Yeah, it is clickbait. The problem, Brittany, though, is clickbait people click on. And so if they click on it and they read this stuff, oh my gosh, they wouldn't print it if it wasn't true. Katrina said, I just had a salad with spinach, sunflower seeds, bacon, feta cheese, and green goddess dressing made with avocado oil. You just made my stomach growl, Katrina. I'm pretty sure there were plants in there somewhere. Yes, there were. Val says, these articles always use the same script. Yes, they do, Val. I think they all get together and say, okay, what are the main talking points? And we'll put them in every article. Repeating the same lies long enough and the public starts to believe them. That's the problem. That's why I try to correct those things so often on my show here. I'm hoping that if I keep doing this show for a little while, people start to see the pattern, because I've seen it for 15 years, you guys, and I've seen it in the research world where they have the same conclusions in the research again and again and again, and it's all crap research, bad science that they use to come to the conclusions. And if they repeat it again and again and again, like you're saying, Val, they're going to believe it, and I think they buy into their own propaganda. We all need to counteract them. Well, we're doing our part, aren't we, Val? Brittany says, what exactly is plenty of vegetables? I know anytime I see subjective language like that, it always makes me raise my eyebrow. It's like, what are we talking about? Joshua says, I get in more vitamins now than I ever did before I was a ketonian. Yes. Brittany likes my word bullfunky. That's Christine's word, actually. She loves that. All of these things seem to be side effects that I had on the SAD diet. Yeah, isn't it funny? People walk around every single day making extremely bad nutritional health choices, what we call the standard American diet, the SAD diet. And you never see articles written about those people and the diet that they consume. But for those of us that become so aware of our own health and aware of our own nutritional choices, that we want to make a change and do something for our bodies that we've actually seen benefits from, like keto. And now they want to discourage you away from doing something when you have the vast majority of the population still just doesn't give a rip about their diet at all. This is one of the things that just baffles me to no end. Why do we leave these people who are destroying their health? Why do we leave them out there flailing? And in essence, by not responding or saying anything about the way that they're eating, you're saying, hey, good job, keep doing what you're doing, even though they're getting fatter and sicker than ever before. We never see any articles addressing that, ever. Miss Priss says vegans eliminate more than one food group. Dairy is one, meat is another. That is two good groups that vegans give up. That's right. That's exactly right. Alberto says meat and organs are made with the exact ingredients that our body is made of. How could they think eating meat will lead to a nutrient deficiency? Well, again, they buy into their own propaganda, Alberto. That's why. Tammy says, who wrote this article? Sounds more like a deliberate sabotage. The war on keto is real. Well, guys, I am hopefully your sane voice of reason in the midst of this war on keto. And I agree with you, Tammy. I do think there is a deliberate, outright war on all things keto related, real food related, fasting related, meat related right now. It's real. And hopefully by you watching this Jimmy Rants regularly, this show, you're seeing the pattern. Tammy says, yeah, I'm so unhealthy after 3 years on keto, I totally reversed my diabetes. It wasn't keto. It couldn't have possibly been keto. You're supposed to be dead by now. Val says, my doc told me to stop my calcium supplements. You have a good doc, Val. That's good. Maintained an 80-pound weight loss for 3 years. Not a diet, it's a way of life. Congratulations, Tammy. That's awesome. Let's see here. Lorraine says, the number of clients I see with essential fatty acid deficiencies with cardiovascular issues as well is insane. Increase the fat, improve their digestion, and cardio cholesterol health improves every time. See, that's so backwards though, Lorraine, and thank you for your comment, from what people believe, because they have all these images of, oh my gosh, if I eat fat, I'm going to have all these bad things happen in my health. And what they don't realize is if they get real food-based fats, it's the answer to a lot of things in their health. For Christine, she had to have her gallbladder removed because she was so essential fatty acid deficient. And now she regrets it. Now that she's a nutritional therapy practitioner, she realizes the purpose that organ had, and that if you didn't eat enough fat in your diet, you couldn't be healthy, and it literally destroyed her gallbladder. And she's not alone. The low-fat diet has a trail of tears. Let's just put it that bluntly. Of all of these ramifications that have happened in our health. And it's disgusting what's happened in our culture. All right, let's go over to Facebook Live. Thank you guys for being here today on Jimmy Rants as well. See what you guys have to say. Loved your show with the doctor. Thank you guys. Yeah, if you missed it yesterday, Christine, my wife, had a 2-hour session with a doctor. Yes, 2 hours with a functional medicine doctor up in North Carolina. His name, Dr. Gus Vickery, which is now available for you to watch as a Jimmy Rants bonus episode. We did it live here on Instagram Live, but for all my Facebook Live people, you did not see it live. It's now up on YouTube. So if you go to jimmyrants.com, you can actually see that full 2-hour session, which was so eye-opening. Jessica says, you counter the negative articles with all the positive effects of keto, and we truly appreciate it. Well, that's what I try to do, Jessica. I think sometimes people that aren't as educated at this as I am, they get a little bit upset by some of this because they don't know how to respond to it. So hopefully I arm you with a little bit of good knowledge. So much clickbait out there regarding keto. You will be kept busy for a long time. Yes, look at all these articles I have printed out. This is no lie. I mean, this is just like all the, and there's no way I'm going to get to it before my sabbatical. And they just keep coming, Dan. So you're right. So much to get to, so little time. Keto has been the key, says Kimberly, to finding my happiness, health, and life for a very long time. And it will be for a long time from now. Becky says, I carnivore 3 or 4 days a week and have vegetables the rest of the time. Yep. I see the same thing. A lot of my clients have done so much better with digestive health simply by cutting out the fiber, says Dan. Yep. Becky says, electrolytes and magnesium, water, etc., and potty time is usually fine. Did you mean to rhyme there, Becky? Potty time is usually fine. Oh, and avocado is high in fiber. Yes, avocado, completely keto-friendly food. It is very high in fiber. Louise says, fiber wrecks my system. It does for a lot of people. It makes it very difficult. Debbie says, happiness is key. Play, laugh, and be silly. It's a part of the whole journey. And Debbie, I cannot wait on the low-carb cruise for your lecture all about dealing with the chronic stresses of our day as well. That's a big part of this whole issue, that every time we talk about diet and its impact on your health, we always neglect what are those other things that could be impacting health, that even if your diet was completely good, and stress is the big one. So I'm excited for your talk. Valerie says, keto helps me go potty. Well, thank you for sharing. TMI alert, TMI alert, TMI alert. So agree, processed grains and sugars are not real food. What an excellent statement. They never have been, Becky. And I think when people go to the grocery store, most of what they buy in that store, especially in the middle aisles, are complete crap. And so I think we need to stop legitimizing them by calling them food, even junk food. No, they are food like disease agents. not real food. Jessica says, I equate gluten to glue. It'll gum you up. So do other starches. Cutting this stuff out can have profound positive effects on digestion. I personally attest to this. Yeah, and you can also do the same with sugar. Sugar gets all thick and sludgy and gummy. That's the same thing it's doing too. Bonnie says, I don't know how our poor ancestors, keto eaters, survived between all these things they say will happen. They have no answers for any of that when asked, especially for people who have had no pharmaceuticals back then to help them like they do now with sad diet that causes all these things. Yes. Hunter-gatherer ancestors are the best argument when someone thinks you're going to harm yourself with your keto lifestyle. How do you think cavemen survived? There was no quinoa. There was no superfoods. There was none of this stuff that we're told we have to have now. How did they survive? It's a logical question. And same with fasting, by the way. They talk about how fasting's so unhealthy. How do you think tribes survived in hunter-gatherer days between animal kills? Fasting. Becky says dairy is inflammatory to many people, but I think if you look towards raw, organic, non-GMO, then yummy. Yes, getting good signs. Jessica says Dr. Berry pointed out how the amount of calcium is overemphasized. Too much is not good. Yes, I said that about the coronary arteries. We need a balance of all the other micronutrients in order for calcium to be effective for bone health. We should not over-supplement. Exactly. When you have a low calcium or have concerns about osteoporosis, that does not mean you need to take a huge dosage of calcium. It means you need to balance that calcium that you're getting from your foods mostly with vitamin D3, vitamin K2. If that's news to you, you need to go look it up. D3, K2 is so critical to telling your body what to do with that calcium. We wrote all about this in our book, Real Food Keto. If you're interested, go check it out, realfoodketo.com. My muscle tone is better than ever, says Jessica. I've retained the muscle my body needed to support my morbidly obese weight. I've just lost fat. Yeah, I tell people my legs are muscular, guys. If you ever meet me in person, ask to look at my calves. But yeah, I have very strong legs because for the longest time I've carried around, for a long time, in my 20s and into my early 30s, I carried around 400 pounds. And so my muscles in my lower part of my body are really strong, always have been. And so, yeah, that does happen. My thyroid is back online and my lipid panel is lower. That's awesome, Becky. What were the 2 tests that you recommended? Ooh, Sherry, I don't remember which ones you're referring to. The only thing I can think of is, was it the NMR lipoprofile test to get your small dense LDL particles? And then the other one was HSCRP, high sensitivity C-reactive protein. I think that's the ones you're talking about. Missy says, looking for functional medicine for 12-year-old with gut issues. Keto has been amazing. Yeah, so Dr. Will Cole is a functional medicine guy that could help you, drwillcole.com, or that doctor that we saw yesterday in Asheville, North Carolina, Dr. Gus Vickery, drgusvickery.com. Both of those guys see patients remotely. Tammy says, this article raised my cortisol. We need to have like a meditation session after I do a rant. It's like, okay, the rant's over. Now we're going to get our Zen on. Feel better. Low Carb Cruise, I need to look this up. So Missy, lowcarbcruiseinfo.com. We've been doing this this is our 13th year, so definitely go check it out. We didn't know better as kids. I know now. I work with dogs and people still think carbs, grains, and sugar is what the dogs should eat. Again, it's not real food. The dogs have so many health issues. Yep. Okay, let's see. I see my friend AD Keto. What's up, buddy? Said keto's a pretty big threat to a lot of people's pockets. Oh, so much so. in the food industry, in the diet industry, in the pharmaceutical industry, in the medical industry, because think of all the procedures that they do now for big bucks that they'll no longer get to do because you're freaking healed. You're right. You're right. It's hitting a lot of people in their bottom line. That's why they're doing all these cockamamie stories like this. So the bottom line, you guys, again, in this Jimmy Rants is they're going to talk about all these so-called side effects that come from keto. And hopefully by now you understand that most of this is just propaganda, innuendo that's not really based on anything. And it's something I try to bring to you here on a daily basis on Jimmy Rants, because you're not going to get this in the mainstream. Wouldn't it be cool if we could make this show a television show that I go on live every single day? Dreams, dreams, dreams. So the bottom line, this Jimmy Rants, the only side effect of keto is health and happiness for a lifetime. And don't let any story, don't let any negative comment from a friend or family member ever push you away from that fact and that reality in your life. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. As always, you got to go follow me live over on Instagram if you want to partake in the show live in real time. We do this a couple of times a day. So hop on over to Instagram. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live. We also go live here on my Facebook page. So check it out over on Facebook Live as well. Thank you guys for being here. Stick around for the after party. The Jimmy Rants after party is about to be on. If you missed the live here on Instagram, it's all good. We have it up for 24 hours. Well, we don't. Instagram has it up for 24 hours for you to watch on replay. After 24 hours, it does disappear. We put all the past episodes over on YouTube. Type in a keyword, Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. Finally, the best of the best moments of this here show are in podcast form. It's the Jimmy Rants podcast on Apple Podcast as well as Stitcher. All of these links, you guys, are at jimmyrants.com. So Instagram Live, until next time, we'll see you then.